Today, I started my 25th year at the same company. I work for an electric utility in northern Minnesota, and I have 10 things I wish I would have known in the last 25 years when it comes to career advice. Some of them are positive and some of them are negative. So let's start with number one. The receptionist knows everything. The receptionist knows who calls. The receptionist knows everything that's going on in the building. The receptionist is actually the person in the company that knows exactly what's going on. Number two, the CEO knows less than the CFO. That makes perfect sense, doesn't it? The CFO technically runs the company. The CEO can't do anything without the approval of the CFO. Does that sound familiar? Probably. Number three, benefits are a big deal. When you are just out of college and if you don't have a family, husband, wife, all of that stuff that goes with increased costs in your life, if you do not have those things, it's probably not something that you need to worry about. Benefits can add up to a huge amount of money in your salary per year, especially if you have a pension, 401k, medical insurance, dental insurance, long-term disability, all of those things. So something to think about for all these people that want to be content creators and work for themselves and play work comp and all of those things. So benefits are a huge deal. The fourth thing that I would highly recommend that people do is start maxing out your 401k the very first year you are at your job. You will find that as you go through your life, you will be able to retire early. You'll have a lot more financial flexibility, a lot more financial freedom if you start maxing out your 401k immediately upon hire. Don't wait. Go ahead and get started on it. You won't notice it as much from your paycheck if you get started on that right away. Number five, if you stay at a job for 25 years like I have, you and your office chair will become best friends. In fact, I think they said that sitting is the new smoking. So if that is the case, I have been sitting for 25 years and I probably have the health of a 65-year-old, which is actually really sad and makes it hard to continue on. And I would probably, if I was to go back 25 years and make a change, I would pick a job that I did not have to sit. 100% point blank, I would pick a job where I did not have to sit all day long in my chair typing into spreadsheets. That would be my number five advice for starting out over again. Number six, always ask for what you need. If you need something in your job or your career and you are not getting it, ask. It doesn't hurt to ask. I know people that are afraid to ask anything. I have asked for things over and over and over, and I 90% of the time get told no, but on the off chance of the 10% that they might say yes, and it might work out for you. Don't be afraid to ask. I'm never afraid to ask for anything. Sometimes it embarrasses my kids when we're at places if I ask, but 9 times out of 10, people are just gonna say yes or they're gonna say no, and then you have the answer for that. Number 7, this is a big one. So you need to know, after 25 years of working for a company, usually you know ahead of time if you're gonna get like cost of living increases or performance improvement or performance increases in your salary. Know that ahead of time, or if you're gonna get a bonus, because it makes a huge difference in your salary. So for example, some people get to the top of their wage range if they've been there a long time, and that never changes. So they get no performance improvement, no additional raises beyond the cost of living, and you never will get ahead. So make sure you know that. Some companies have very large bonuses. I looked at a company last week that has 40% of your salary as a bonus. Very, very, very enticing to look at for that. So you really need to make sure that when you're looking at compensation, you are looking at the whole big picture and what's going to happen in a year. Don't just start a job without knowing do they do cost of living increases every year? Do you have a performance review every year there, that you get a certain percentage of pay. Don't start at a job and stay at a job that does not have set improvement levels for wages, because you will fall backwards. Believe me, this I have definitely learned in my job. The 8th one is also very important. Your job is your job and not your family. So a lot of people really love their coworkers, but you got to remember, and you spend a lot of time with your coworkers, and sometimes coworkers are really good friends, but your job is your job and not your family. So you, in my opinion, I think you should keep it separate. You can do the little chit chat at work and what's going on and what's happening, but you don't need to tell your person that sits next to you all of your deep, dark, and intimate secrets. Your job is your job. Your family is your family. Your job is not your family. That would be my 8th piece of advice. Number 9, do not be afraid to change your job. When I was going to school back 25 years ago, there was not near as many jobs and different job titles as there are. Actually, computers hardly existed. We turned everything in on paper still when I was in college 25 years ago. I think they had the big, huge, like supercomputers, but we didn't have the stuff that people have now. So jobs exist now that weren't even like a job that long ago. So don't be afraid to change jobs, and don't be afraid when you're starting to jump jobs. Actually, I think when you are in your first 10 years of your career, you should be jumping. You should be looking for the more money and the more experience, so that you can move up and have different titles on your resume for advancement. Some people are completely happy at a job their entire life, and other people, like me, wish they would have jumped just a little bit so you can get some managerial experience of people, and so it looks good on a resume. Because believe me, with 25 years of experience and putting my stuff on a resume, a lot of times I can't get past even the hiring manager, and I have extraordinary skills. So it's really not, don't be afraid to jump so that you look good on paper. Okay, let's try that one. And number 10, no matter what you go to college for, after you get hired and start moving into your career, a lot of times your education doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you went to school. We had a CEO that was a biology professor, a CEO of a business that his major was in biology. There's all kinds of people that are in a position that they did not go to school for that position. However, I'm not talking about like nurses and doctors and lawyers and specialty practices like that. I'm talking like business and electricians and things like that, welders that might move into different jobs as they progress. So I would say education does not always matter. You don't always have to have a degree from a fancy university. It just kind of depends on what location that you're at too, and prestige. The one thing that really does matter is likability. If people like you, if people like to be around you, if you light up the room when you walk in the room, if people smile when they see you, if they're excited to talk to you, if when you walk into a room and people know that you are the subject matter expert, people like that. Likability sells better than education. So you want to be liked. Even on my YouTube channel, if people don't like me, they're not going to subscribe. If people don't like what I have to say, they're not going to subscribe. Likability is probably the number one reason that people get jobs. That's why people do interviews and in-person interviews, even for help desk jobs. If you don't like someone's personality, or you don't like them as an employee, it's probably not going to go well. So you can be as educated as you could have a MBA, you can have a doctorate degree, you could have written all of these theses, and if people really don't like you, you're going to really have a hard time. So likability is a trait that you really, really need to work on and make sure that you have it, and make sure that you are well liked in life and in your business, which means treating people fairly, and always being a good resource for what they need. So these are 10 things that I wish I would have known 25 years ago when I was first starting out in working, and my children are both in college, and I tell them these things. I tell them these 10 things all the time. You really, really, really work hard in college, but also work on your likability. That's my big take out of this whole entire video. If you're likable, you'll do well. Take that for bait. And so that was my 10 things I wish I would have known 25 years ago when I started my career.